Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Market Check brought to you by BB. There is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about markets. Happy Monday, guys. We are coming into the end of the month of October, officially almost a third of the way through Q4. I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I am joined by Max and Louie. Welcome, guys. I hope you all had a great weekend as well. It's funny. I feel like we're opening the week in almost the exact same place. Sorry, my cat's gnawing at my cords, but I feel like we are at we're around the same place we opened last week, where we're kind of still waiting for this decisive move from Bitcoin. Obviously, altcoins remain a pretty widely dispersed bag, as do equity markets, and but equities do look very bullish today. And of course, so does Bitcoin. We talked a lot last week about how it's very much a market of haves and have-nots as far as strong and weak charts go. But before we can go through some of those charts, of course, and break that down for you guys, everything that we're looking at, right? Those strong charts and, of course, the weak charts as well. You know what I'm going to ask you? It's a Monday. You've been sitting on your hands all weekend. Maybe you've been craving a little bit of market check and you've already pressed the like button. But for many, I would love to not have to look at soybeans on a Monday. Just look at crypto, just look at equities, look at some of our favorite assets on the planet. If you guys could just hit the like button so I don't have to ask again, that would be hugely, hugely appreciated. But yeah, getting into some of the more granularities as far as, the haves and the have-nots, right? I mean, Bitcoin looks incredible. Bitcoin dominance is up 0.5% once again. And over in legacy markets, the NASDAQ seems to be leading the way. Seems to be leading the way over the S&P once again. So, I mean, I feel like we can identify a lot of these strong charts, right? Like a Bitcoin, which is really pressing up against the roof, the ceiling that we've had on Bitcoin for months on end. You look at things like Tesla continuing its run off the back half of last week, where I do think there are quite a few tailwinds and catalysts for Tesla here over the next few weeks that I'd like to talk about on this stream as well. NVIDIA looking to recover the dump from this morning. And then meanwhile, of course, like I said, in altcoins, you have some altcoins that are showing a lot more strength here over the last few days than others. Something like a Sol, where it dumped on Thursday or Friday and then immediately ate the dip back up over the weekend. I imagine the opportunities on chain and Solana are not going anywhere anytime soon. But guys, I would love to know what you're seeing in the markets as well. I'd love to know kind of your takes on this disparity that we're seeing. Is it just kind of liquidity concentrated in a few winners and looking to spread out as we potentially trade higher? Or do you have any other interpretations of it? Right. And it does look like China stocks as well are getting a bit of a bounce today. So I'd like to talk about that as well. But happy Monday, of course. And what are you guys seeing in the markets?
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy to be here as always. I think what we're seeing is Bitcoin really flirting with price discovery. And how these things usually play out is that Bitcoin will lead the entire market into price discovery. And there will be little pockets of outperformance from things that are not Bitcoin, but largely as a basket, most things will sit there and stare at Bitcoin, waiting for the all clear to bid until Bitcoin is clearly in price discovery. And I think that's basically what we're seeing right now. Is the U.S. election is in, like a week, 8 days, something like that, like barely over a week. And Bitcoin, I think, is just waiting for the all clear just to get this event out of the way. And then I think we're going to bid, and I think we're going to bid really hard. And then you're probably going to see ETH, BTC bleed a little bit more, Bitcoin dominance, one more push up. And then I think we are going to get what we have been waiting like damn near 8 or 9 months for, which is Bitcoin dominance going down, ETH, BTC finally stopping this painful bleed and truly ushering in alt season. Okay. So I think there's a lot of charts that look primed and ready for that. But the thing is, like, altcoins don't lead Bitcoin. If they do, it's usually a top signal. Bitcoin gives altcoins the all clear. And I think that's the regime that we're in right now, is waiting for that Bitcoin all clear. And I think it's coming. Maybe it's another couple weeks. Maybe we have to wait till after the election. But so much stuff looks ready to go. It just feels like you've got horses just sitting in the gate and they're just waiting to run around the track. But you got to have the gate open and you got to hear the gunshot and then you're off to the races. But that's kind of how I'm feeling, and I'll leave it there. Louis can share some of his thoughts, and then we'll get into some charts.
Yeah. Bitcoin is, very close to 70K. Hit 69K this morning. So cheers to that. But yeah, I've been saying in Discord a long time that 70 to 72K area, just billions and billions of dollars worth of liquidity sitting right above us. And once we start to trade up into those levels, it's going to get volatile very quick, in my opinion. And I think that's going to be volatility to the upside. The past 6-7 months has basically been what I think is a massive reaccumulation by institutions and by big money, to basically catch a ride for this Bitcoin bull run that we see every 4 years, right? And we're in that seasonality, in that time where we historically see that. So I think we could see 70K as early as today, if not some point this week. We'll see how the day closes out. It's still early, but it's looking promising this morning. Just holding local support, you know local supports, and we're just continuing to churn higher. And it's very clear that there's a bid for Bitcoin. These pullbacks are just getting bought up. No matter how hard they try to push it down, it seems like there's always buyers stepping in up at these levels. And I think that's going to continue, right? I think it's a regime shift that we're seeing in the markets. And I'm getting very excited because once we get into that 70K area, I really think it's going to be like five to $10,000 candlesticks on Bitcoin, and that'll taking us to 80K. I'm not trying to be like a moon boy here. I'm just trying to explain basically what I've been talking about, is that billions and billions of dollars worth of short liquidity sitting above us, I think, is what's going to squeeze us to 80K in short period of time here. So we are getting very close. If you've been around this long, hang on tight, because things should start to get very interesting in due time. And I got a little espresso. See that?
It's blending into the background a
I
little
know.
bit.
There it is.
Yeah, that's
I
nice.
haven't quite had my stinny yet, but I'm sure I'll be getting some after the show. Something the comment section does not know is that Max and Tucker got me hooked on iced coffee like last year, and it's become a bit of an unhealthy addiction. So we'll just call it
Did
that.
you never drink iced coffee before last year?
No, I mean, I really didn't drink coffee. I pretty much would just exclusively drink pre-workout as my caffeine intake. Not throughout the day. I mean, there were some days where it was required that I would have to do that, but
You're just tingling all day.
you
Staring
work
at
out off pre-workout and then you go off that for the rest of the day. That's what I did. But now I'm much more.
But you didn't work out 7 days a week, right? So were there days where you'd wake up and be like, "I'm not working out today," and you'd still have pre-workout?
If I prefer not to speak. If I speak, there's trouble.
All right, let's get into it, guys. I mean, look, here's the deal. This is breaking up, okay? It's just a matter of when, right? We're in a nice structured uptrend. This consolidation is I'm not debating this. Like, this is breaking to the upside right here, guys. Like, this is a consolidation that is breaking to the upside. You could draw this trend line a million different ways, right? Like, we already broke out, we're about to break out, you could draw it like this and just be like, yeah, it's horizontal, whatever. I don't care. This is breaking up, okay? And I mean, I'll set the stage with this right here. I mean, we have been talking about this for so long, guys. So long. I kind of view it like this. This feels like the most appropriate trend line to me. When you finally clear this high, when you clear this level, there's really nothing to talk about, okay? Because the argument right now from the bears is the following. we are still in this downtrend. And I can't believe how long we've been here. They're saying none of this counts as higher highs, even though we have been in this uptrend. They're going, yeah, these are all internal, and this is the real high that matters. They're right to suggest that this is the high that matters, but I think that they're wrong to ignore that this is in fact a structured uptrend and that it does carry some weight. But once you clear this high right here, there's genuinely nothing left to talk about. Like, your arguments are dead. Confirmed on every time frame break of trend, like not even up for debate. And you've conquered the little bit of supply that you have, and you're going to cope because we're going to go a lot higher. You know, I remain convicted. Like, this has been one of the most grueling ranges that I have personally ever had to endure in crypto. I thought it would take about half the time that it did, but it's time, guys. Like, we have seasonal tailwinds right now. October through all the way through Q1 should be good. The Russell this morning was up like 1 point something percent. You know, Russell looks good, which it sort of tips its hat to, again, this regime that we are entering, where the NASDAQ and the S&P have been ripping aggressively for, you know, over a year now. And small caps and crypto really haven't gotten much love. But that's not uncommon, because what we typically see is the NASDAQ rips, the S&P rips, the Dow rips, and then the Russell finally rips and goes into price discovery. And then crypto gets some love, right? So it is time. Like, it is time, you know, it is absolutely time. The election is in a week, and this is what Bitcoin looks like. I don't understand how you look at this and think that this looks like, if you were looking at this chart, you'd be like, oh crap. Like, this thing is fried. This thing is absolutely fried. You'd be like, everybody on Twitter would be like, oh man, like, ooh, yikes. Yikes. Oh man. But now, you know, they just can't be bullish because they're freaks, and they're like, oh man, like, this is gonna reject again. Nah, bro, I'm sorry. Like, it's not gonna reject it. Like, here's the thing. Here's the only thing I would entertain, just because I know that there is, not to be this guy, volatility incoming with the election. The only level that I see on the chart that, you know, potentially catches my eye would be this weekly time frame FVG right here. This is the only thing that, just because the election's coming up, maybe there's some volatility. It also kind of perfectly aligns with this weekly level right here. So we'll just put that in blue. So there is some confluence down here, right? Like, if there was a big shakeout because of the election, I guess something, you know, you could maybe see like a big fake out or something. Like, it'd be like boom, and then up, like with the election. I don't know. You know, it's weird. It's a really weird time. But I mean, it looks fucking good, guys. Like, it really looks good. A lot of support below us. Like, here's your point of control for this entire range. It's hard to be bearish, guys. And cyclically, this is when we you know, Q4 of the halving year is typically when things start to heat up, right? Q4 of the halving year is when things start to heat up. And I'm like, well, it's Q4 of the halving year. You know, it's Q4 of the halving year.
Yeah.
Not all at once, boys.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
just
look at-
looking through Bitcoin beta, Max, because I saw some comments about Bitcoin miners. I think Bitcoin looks fantastic, and Bitcoin dominance, the theme that we were kind of discussing last week, in my opinion, looks set to climb pretty substantially here over the next. I mean, it's probably not going to have to wait too much longer for Bitcoin dominance to make a pretty serious move higher at this point. Obviously, we were talking about that 60 to 62, maybe even 63% level on dominance. That was really where you had that super choppy looking supply zone during the last cycle before it officially broke down. Therefore, I do think it has some contextual importance that we tag that level of liquidity at this point. But yeah, I mean, the king is absolutely siphoning liquidity out of the rest of the market and showing strength, which is what you want to see before Bitcoin typically enters price discovery. And if you're talking about Bitcoin beta, obviously we have miners. of course, we have ordinals as well. So I'm gonna stick in a Bitcoin puppet shill before I open it up, or at least after my last few comments. I think that there are a few assets that are, people are looking for beta to Bitcoin directly through altcoins, and a lot of these altcoins are struggling because Bitcoin's siphoning liquidity directly from them. And I think ordinals are a great kind of hedge against that.
Yeah, I love me some Bitcoin puppets. I do own some, but this is how I see Bitcoin dominance. Since you brought it up, it's like last cycle we had the most predatory sweep right here before last cycle, like before Bitcoin dominance nuked and we got alt season. So I don't know. I mean, looking at where we're at right now, it kind of feels like we're right in here somewhere. Like there will be one more big, big move up. I don't know where it goes, but it actually is healthy to see Bitcoin dominance rising on a Bitcoin breakout into price discovery. Like you wouldn't want to see altcoins leading and Bitcoin lagging, Bitcoin going into price discovery. That would not be good. That would be really bad actually. So maybe it's as simple as this. Maybe it's just like here's some supply above head right here from last cycle. This was like, here, let's go back. So this was last cycle before like the real breakdown occurred, right? Bitcoin bulls tried to make their stand right here and then ultimately gave out and we had alt season. So it could be just as simple as this, where Bitcoin is about to go into price discovery. It's going to lead just like this. Bitcoin, again, about to go into price discovery sometime soon. You might get this. I don't know where it would be. I mean, this is kind of interesting. There's some little equal highs right here. That's all the way at like 64, 65% though. So similarly to how we swept this liquidity up here last cycle, like a perfect sweep right up here, maybe we'll take out those equal highs. I don't know, but
Max, what do you think about this comment right here?
I mean, that's so high, man. I
don't know about that.
It could, I guess. I think that would. I don't know what that would imply, honestly. I mean, that seems like too much, honestly.
Altcoins are illegal worldwide. Okay, Bitcoin dominance goes to 70%.
Louis, what do you think? Could that happen?
I mean, anything can happen, right? I mean, anything can happen. We've seen, I'm not going to be the guy that says there's no way it happens and then it happens, But if it does and altcoins are still allowed to be traded, I guarantee you altcoins are going to be ripping along with it. So it's not something like these last couple percentages, like you have it pointed out where basically where Bitcoin dominance tops last cycle, Bitcoin was basically almost at its top. Like altcoins were going up that whole time. I mean, not all of them, right? But if you're in the right stuff, and you're playing the altcoins as beta, it doesn't really matter, right? Like there's people that are stuck on similar with ETH BTC. There's people that are stuck on this, which is fine, right? If you've made your wealth and you want to like maintain it, sure. But a lot of us are trying to, create that wealth. And if you're waiting for Bitcoin dominance to peak to get into altcoins or whatever, like alts are going to go up on this last whatever push up Bitcoin dominance has anyways. So to me, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I could see another stab up, probably 60, 61, maybe 62. Take out that little, that beginning of the impulse down that Jackus has talked about. I think where is that sitting around like 60, 61, something like that. But all coins will pump along with that. I don't think it's going to be a scenario where Bitcoin's pumping in price discovery and all coins are bleeding. Like I don't think that's the case. So regardless, it doesn't really matter to me in my opinion.
That's the thing too, is like Bitcoin dominance going up at this phase of the cycle is in fact a healthy thing. As much as I want it to nuke because I want alts to go bananas, it is a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Right. It is a healthy thing. And I think at this point, just given how long this has taken, the longer Bitcoin ranges under the previous cycle all-time high, obviously the more dominance it's going to gain against altcoins. Therefore, because of how prolonged this range has been under the all-time high, it's caused Bitcoin dominance to go a lot higher than I would have initially expected. If Bitcoin had already broken out 3 months ago, you know, Bitcoin dominance would have been at 55, 56%, something like that. So, yeah, I just, like I said, I think the only thing that matters is that Bitcoin acts as the rising tide that lifts all ships. I don't really care how high Bitcoin dominance goes and how low ETH BTC goes, as long as US dollar valuations are increasing. If Bitcoin wants to lead every single altcoin, that's fine with me. Just drag ETH and Sol and BNB and every major up kicking and screaming, even if it's lagging by, you know, half of what Bitcoin's doing. So then I think it's just a matter of time before you see that big rotation into altcoins and you see Bitcoin dominance really plunge. So
I was just looking at Bitcoin dominance. Max, if you wanna zoom out on Bitcoin dominance, you can have log on or off. I don't think it really matters, but invert the chart and look at the full history of Bitcoin dominance. You're basically trading ETH Bitcoin. So I think the answer to how skewed do you think ETH Bitcoin gets? That's probably your answer for the Bitcoin dominance top, effectively.
wow, look at that thing. I mean, obviously little differences, but more or less great signal, right? More or less great signal. So yeah, I mean,
Which this kind of validates what we were talking about last week, which is that you know, Bitcoin dominance is effectively Bitcoin against VC scams and ETH rather than Bitcoin market share versus meme coins. Because Max, I can't remember if you were on that show, but I think it was me, Tucker, and Jackus. We realized that the total meme coin market cap is only like $30 billion when you exclude SHIB and Doge.
really?
Yeah.
That makes me more bullish memes. I didn't realize that. For some reason in my head, I figured it was more.
What's the size? I missed it.
It's about 30 billion USD.
That's
if
it.
you exclude SHIB and Doge. If you exclude SHIB and Doge, just going off of the CoinGecko category, it might be like a margin of error somewhere in there, but
Yeah, that's literally nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's not even a true bubble, man. That'll top at like $1 trillion or something crazy. You know, it'll be wild.
Rookie numbers.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers. I look at ETH BTC down here, and this is arguably the most important level on the entire chart. You know, you have this really, really, like, I hate these random default colors. Like, why did that, you know, why are they doing these like weird, like no one has ever picked those colors. Why would they make that default? You know, that's crazy to me that they would do something like that. Okay, ETH BTC down below. I mean, this level right here is so significant all the way through the history, the entire history of ETH BTC. You know, I mean, I have to imagine that somewhere, I would find it difficult to imagine we go below 0.03. I don't know. I find that hard to imagine. I do, but it's possible. I just figure like if we're gonna hold, it should be somewhere around here. And I was also looking at ETH BTC. All right, we can get rid of this. That's fine. Let's look at ETH BTC over here. We have like a legacy point of control. Yes, right here. And we have this legacy lifetime point of control right here for ETH BTC, which I know, Tommy, you have to love this. I know you're a legacy point of control guy. But if we just look at this with Bitcoin as well, and we look to see when Bitcoin, God, these colors, man, they're going to drive me crazy. Who at TradingView made these weird green and pink, the default colors. Straight to jail for you, bucko. Whoever did that. Looking at this right here, I mean, look at what happens to ETH against Bitcoin every single cycle, right? Every single cycle, it does the same thing, the same little song and dance. Right here, as Bitcoin is going up to pressure its previous all-time high, you see ETH BTC nuke. Bitcoin is going up to pressure its previous all-time high. ETH BTC nukes. Bitcoin is going up to pressure its previous all-time high. Look how long we've been doing this. That's why we're nuking so bad. And then what happens is that Bitcoin finally goes into price discovery. And you see ETH BTC goes nuts. And then you see ETH BTC goes nuts. This should really be topped right here. All right. Bitcoin finally goes into price discovery. I mean, hopefully soon. My gosh, it's been forever. So I'm like, we're approaching this lifetime point of control with the same kind of cyclical dynamic at play where ETH BTC is just, I mean, people are grave dancing on it at the most important level on the chart. And, Bitcoin's about to go into price discovery, in my opinion. So I'm like, the bottom's got to be here. Like maybe one more little local jeet, and then we move up. Like I just don't accept that this time is different because I haven't been shown that this time is different. Why would this time be so much different?
It's not.
Boom, he said it. It's not. There it is. Mic drop.
I'll see you next week. Yeah. I mean, I'm longing ETH into these grave dancers. I love the ETH is dead narrative. That just makes me tells me the timing is right and it's going to do exactly what it always does, and people will capitulate exactly at the worst times, like most of the time they do, right? In trading and investing. So I'm long ETH. I'm long ETH beta, and I'm just patiently waiting for the grave dancers to get meat sticked, basically. Yeah, I mean, it's the same song and dance. It's very cyclical. You just have to have the patience and the context to survive and accumulate the correct way. What's got me excited is the fact that if you play this well, like your portfolio should be dancing around or close to all-time highs, and Bitcoin hasn't even broken out into price discovery yet. So that's what's got me excited. I don't know about you guys, but
I think I'm just curious to see what Bitcoin dominance. I could see an overextension into like 65%. Honestly, what does that look like for Bitcoin? Right? Like how high up is Bitcoin going? Because we talk all the time about wealth effect on majors. If we have such an extreme move from Bitcoin dominance, where I'm assuming it's just siphoning all of the liquidity and all the life out of alts until it finishes, right? And then obviously that rotation will start to occur a bit more broadly through something like ETH and obviously VC tokens as well. How high up is Bitcoin going before we see that Bitcoin dominance top out? I am very curious to see what that looks like.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we do get that 5 to 10K candlestick to the upside that I was talking about earlier in the show, I think that's something that could warrant a spike, up into those levels on Bitcoin dominance. And it would be, getting a candlestick like that, getting upside and seeing consolidation on Bitcoin. And then, if we start to see the, liquidity start to rotate into alts after a Bitcoin move like that, that's a good sign. And that's where I could think we could probably start to be putting in a top on Bitcoin dominance and alts really start to catch a bid. right? Because like how much has Bitcoin dominance moved up over the past week or two when we're just coming from range lows to range highs? Like we haven't even broken our range yet, right? Like what's it up a couple percent in the last couple weeks? So if we get like a 5 to 10K candlestick to the upside, like in like a day or two, like I'm thinking we will, once we trade into that 70K area, like that's going to be a pretty decent spike up on Bitcoin dominance.
I'm looking at from what I can see with dominance, the biggest spikes that we've had during this cycle came immediately after SVB, when it ripped about like 10%. Of course, we also had June when it ripped about 10%. I mean, usually Bitcoin dominance rips about like 10%. But I look at Bitcoin dominance, it looks like it might be about to, I mean, I probably do like the same amount of move measured into like 64, 65%, maybe overshoot that little supply zone. And then I would have to expect that at a certain point, a mechanical rejection from that level, just because, I mean, it is like, you look at the amount of wicks, and I mean, it was very clearly a contested level during the last cycle. I have to imagine that it's going to be protected. You know, and that's not something that is going to manifest literally in the sense like, oh, we're at this percentage of Bitcoin dominance, I'm going to allocate to altcoins right now. I think it just kind of, you're probably hitting support on a lot of different Bitcoin pairs at the same time. And that like saturation point of money that's currently in Bitcoin versus currently in other assets will be tested. But no, I mean, I think it's ultimately the most constructive thing that this market could be presenting, that Bitcoin dominance looks like it could be potentially gearing up for a breakout of this degree.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Louis, I see you got your chart up, bro. You want it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Mr. Meatstick, what's going on?
This you know, we're talking about that Q4 of the election year, of the halving year. And I was looking at this the other day. I mean, Max, you have a similar chart, but yours are all kind of, you know, on, you know, basically next to each other. This is like, you know, just a straight Bitcoin chart going back to 2013. And, you know, we are in that sweet spot, right? So each of these black lines basically represents the Pico bottom for Bitcoin for that cycle. Normally, and coincidentally, which I don't believe in coincidences, right? You know, from Pico bottom to Pico top of the Bitcoin 4-year market cycle usually takes around 1,050 days, something like that. So, you know, we do have time left as far as these cycles are concerned. Yes, we have about, you know, another 300 some odd days left. So about a year left of, you know, bullish price action for Bitcoin. And that would obviously overlay into crypto as well, right? And I have these green boxes here because this is basically when Bitcoin has broken its old all-time high and enters its last bit of like, you know, price discovery and bullish price action, you know, in these cycles where you see the most, you know, bullish horizontal price action out of Bitcoin. And that's when you get, and in these parts of the cycle, that's when you get altcoins going crazy and you get like those so-on called like altcoin season, right? But you know, that's 784 days it took us before we actually started pressing and breaking out into price discovery back in 2017, like 693 days back in 2021. And right now we're at 728 days from that Pico low. So not only do we have about 300 days left before we should see a top for Bitcoin, but we're also in that, you know, that key sweet spots, like Max was referring to earlier in the show, where we see Bitcoin start to, you know, go back into price discovery and really see that vertical price action that we're used to seeing. So, you know, this is just a representation of, you know, the Bitcoin cycles and where we are at in that cycle. And this is the context. You know, I talk a lot about context, right? Like you need to have context when it comes to, you know, investing in crypto, because if you're just looking at a chart with blinders on, or not looking at stuff like this, you really get blown out of the water, in my opinion. So having this context and this backdrop of how cyclically Bitcoin plays out year after year, right? It's like undeniable at this point And if you're betting against this to happen, you're betting against history, and you're betting on something not happening that's continued to happen for the last 8 to 12 years, right? So, this is just representation of the 4-year cycle, and the kind of where we are at compared to previous cycles. And that is the green sweet spot where, we enter price discovery. And that's where, like I mentioned, like I'm not trying to be a moon boy and say, volatility imminent, expect 5 to 10K Bitcoin candles to the upside. But, historically, this is when we see it, right? So I say that with context. I'm not just pulling it out of the thin air, right? So this is just a good chart that represents that as well. I know Max has a chart in a different way, but, different strokes for different folks. This is how I look at it. And I think this is very telling. I mean, if you just asked a 4-year-old, right? If I asked my 3-month son, hey, what's going to happen next year? He's going to say, up, daddy,
Your 4-month son can speak?
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I started them early.
That's unbelievable, man. That is genius. Is a genius. And I know those of you without kids have no idea. You're like, can a 4-month-old speak? I was the same way before I had a kid. I was like, is he gonna start walking at like 3 months? Like you just have no clue.
Yeah.
Unless you've been around babies before. Like before I had a kid, basically any kid between the age of like 2 and 8 could have been the same age for me. I was like, how old is that kid? And now I know really well. But yeah. I mean, all right, Louis, why are you showing me the Russell, bro? I don't understand. This is a crypto show.
Well,
I don't understand. Is there something significant about this chart?
Of course. Just historically, as Max has said over and over again for the past couple months, that you don't see Bitcoin and crypto and price discovery without the Russell or IWM in price discovery as well with it. And just looking at this based on first cyclically, right? Coming into the same, this was November of 2020, October, November of 2020, we saw a similar price action. Obviously, we had COVID, right? So this is slightly skewed. But even with COVID, we're seeing similar price action that we saw back in 2020, end of Q4 of 2020, going into Q1 of 2021, you had a bull chop right under, the old all-time high for low cap stocks, gap up, back into price discovery. And right as this is happening, Bitcoin is also breaking out into price discovery. I mean, maybe you have a chart for Max for that to show. I know you could show it a lot more beautifully than I, but I mean, just looking at this chart, we're pressing up into basically the top range of 2021. This is basically your distribution range of 2021. And we're basically pressing into the mid-range right now. We have a flat top. We have higher lows. Just as far as technicals go and technical analysis. Jeez, can't say that today. This is a bullish continuation.
Analysis from a technician.
Yeah. This is a bullish continuation pattern into a key supply where historically we're at the time of year and the time of the cycle where this does start to break out. So, I mean, markets are really cyclical. It's pretty crazy. Like if you look back at the data and you actually look at everything, like markets are very, very cyclical. And for some reason, people just fade it or they just can't. I don't know. For some reason, I guess the day-to-day noise kind of knocks you off that scent from following the cyclicality of markets. But it really is like an amazing thing to look back and see. Because I mean, literally, this breaks out first week of November, in 2020, right? And what do you know? Next week, guess what? First week of November of Q4 of the election year and the halving year. Are we going to see more of the same? I mean, we're seeing this looks a lot similar. This looks very similar to this, right? Like, am I crazy for thinking that? Like, I don't know.
Crazy. No, you're crazy.
Crazy.
COVID incoming. You're crazy.
Regardless, I am a little crazy, but
yeah, you're a little crazy.
You kind of have to be in crypto for this long. You got to have something a little wrong with you for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we all have something wrong with us because we've been in crypto for so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
you come into this
brain damage, probably.
It is. You come into this asset class like kind of like naive and happy and like, without the need for, like major eye surgery from staring at the screen all day long. Yeah. And then you become very like cynical and pessimistic and paranoid, and then you're a crypto trader, you know?
Max, you've seen that the Chad light mode user, right?
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
That's basically what crypto is, man. I mean, we're all staring at the screen. I forgot what the meme has on it. I think it's like, hold on, I think I found it. Text nearly unreadable. Hasn't slept in 52 hours. Will go blind by 30.
Will go blind. Yeah, that's why I got to wear these stupid freaking glasses, because like blue light literally gives me migraines now just from staring at price.
Yeah, you got to lean into that, Louis. You got to lean into that. All right.
I normally, for live streams, usually I just power through it and like I just don't wear them, but I wasn't doing it today.
You're not a crypto trader unless you get migraines from staring at the chart for too long. Yeah.
I'm glad TradingView doesn't have like a, you know how you can get the productivity report from your iPhone? I mean, I'm sure you could see your usage.
Oh my God.
Phone, but if it was from my computer, I'd be very afraid to look at that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm tweeting something. Can you guys just waffle until I get this out? Because I gotta tweet it, because if I start doing other charts, then it'll mess up this chart. So just waffle while I tweet this out, and then I'll be right back.
The ADHD.
Yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good. I don't hear waffling. Come on, waffle.
Let's look at low time frame Bitcoin. So obviously, whoever was shorting this, thinking they're so smart, just got wrecked this morning. That's blatantly clear, because I guarantee you there was a lot of this going on. High, lower high, complacent shoulder. I'll see you in Hades. Bang. See you later. Shorts get wrecked. Love to see that. And that's like that shift, right? Because normally that's been working for the past 6 months, right? But I really think we're coming into a time where that's not going to work anymore, especially because you're just seeing there's a massive bid, right? Like every time they try to push us down here, push us back under 66K, you know, massive buying. Like these wicks are buyers stepping in and pushing price back up. And that's that Bitcoin demand, that seasonality that, you know, we're used to seeing, you know, at this time of year. So people got to have to, you know, change their mentality and look at history and context if they're going to want to succeed in this market moving forward. Because I really think there is a regime shift here. This was a Monday morning pump. I mean, we kind of grinded up over the weekend. Monday morning, we got a nice pump. So that does make me a little like, you know, Monday morning moves are, you know, iffy, right? We've seen that in the past. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, maybe, you know, come back, fill some of this, right? We made some FEGs on the way up over the last day or two. Especially this was over the weekend. So we like to fill these. But regardless, I mean, you know, people that were short from here, they're likely stopped out. If not, you know, their stops are here. But you know, we have untapped highs waiting to be taken, right? Obviously, this is one already. From when was this? This was Monday of last week. And you have this high here. It's at 69K. So now we have 2 untapped highs for the taking that I think will probably be taken this week, in my opinion. And the fireworks begin.
Louis, before you continue to elaborate.
Yes.
I checked the like button. I checked the like button.
Oh.
And I'm afraid we're gonna have to do what we didn't want to have to do on a Monday.
You should do the one you did last time.
The soybeans over the Dollar General chart.
Give it to him.
Give it to him. Hold on, let me get the pair up on my screen.
Give it to him.
I'm disappointed, guys.
Yes, I'm spewing alpha here. Low time.
I'm disappointed. It's Monday. Bitcoin is green. It's right near all-time highs, and they still can't hit the like button.
Greedy like the Bears.
All right, I'm stealing the screen.
Take it. Oh my God, that's mine.
Behold, soybeans over Dollar General. We will remain on this. I wonder what this pair even looks like, but I'm charting this, guys, Actually,
That's gonna nuke. That's gonna BART, bro. It's
that is
over.
probably gonna BART. This
So
looks
this
like
would be a good time to sell your soybeans into Dollar General stock.
seems like it.
So I've got a big barrel of soybeans at my place. I'm gonna take them, sell them, and buy some Dollar General stock. That's financial advice.
Did you cash in on your options or something, and now you just have barrels of soybeans at your house?
Yeah, I did, Louis. What's with the tone, bro? You didn't do that?
Why is this the Popcat chart? I've said that a few times
Yeah, it
over
is.
the last few weeks, but this is literally the Popcat chart.
Yeah, I mean, great trade, man.
But
Looks
yeah,
like,
guys, we'll put
yeah.
the soybean chart. I realized I forgot to even mention to people who are unfamiliar with why the soybeans are up. Like the reason we have the soybeans up, guys, are because the like button is criminally underliked. So if you could do your part and allocate maybe any extra spare cash you have in your portfolio to the like button, we would be very appreciative. There are over 400 of you watching live, maybe less since I started showing this chart, but we always appreciate when you guys smash that like button. We'll get back to cooking in just a minute.
Guys, hit the like button or I'm canceling the show forever.
Ooh.
Soybeans and Dollar General, man. What a diabolical pair.
There seems to be something to it. Could we chart soybeans? Oh my goodness.
Why does that look kind of bullish?
It's a good time
XRP.
so good time to sell XRP into soybeans.
Jackus would not like that.
No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. All right, we got the likes up. Let's get back to it, boys.
All right.
Let's get back to it. That was too painful.
Back to Louis.
I'm gonna show the cycles chart that that Louis was talking about here. This is my cycles chart. All right.
Everybody
up on
show
the
your
screen?
cycles chart.
What?
So you're going in class. Everyone show their cycles chart.
Yep.
Tommy, you're next. You better make one.
My cycles chart.
You don't have a cycles chart? You didn't do your homework?
I'm gonna have to rush to get it done during the other presenters.
Doing his homework in the back of the class.
Classic.
All right, guys, look. I can't in good faith tell you that this time will be different because I thought that this time would be different because, for one, we were out in front of the Bitcoin will make an all-time high before the halving. Like, we were all over that thing. But you can't fight history is what this chart has shown me. This was our all-time high for Bitcoin here in March. Right here. Okay. So you can see we were out in front of the previous two cycles right here by like a couple months. All-time high before the halving, which again, the halvings are marked out with these yellow dots. Okay. And then we spend the next 7 or 8 months chop, and we just sync up perfectly with the previous two cycles. Just perfectly. So from a cyclical point of view, this next phase of the cycle is you buy Bitcoin and crypto assets between the Bitcoin halvings and the election, and you get this. So I can't operate under the illusion that this time is different because I have not been presented with the fact that this time is different. There are little things that are different each cycle, but when I look at this, I go, well, you buy Bitcoin between the halving and the election, and then you sell it like 400 days later, and then you're good. You know, I look at this and I think, why would this time be different?
It's baked into the code. That's how
I mean,
Satoshi wrote it.
I can't help but think he was acutely aware of how U.S. presidential elections affect risk markets. I
Yeah.
can't help but think that that was thought out to some degree,
Yeah.
right?
Are you saying Satoshi was an American?
Doesn't have to be.
I actually don't think that Satoshi was American unless it was created by the government, which I know is a theory out there. But I mean, even globally, right? Like US presidential elections affect markets globally. I mean, even Europeans follow US politics. We don't follow European politics here in the US, but overseas they follow what happens here in the US. You have to. So I mean, I look at this,
Study USA.
and then Louis was talking about the Russell too. Like we've talked about this, but it's an important reminder. Like, why do we care about the Russell? Let's look at it. Let's pull up the Russell.
Would you
Stocks.
just look at it?
Bitcoin miners having a field day today, boys.
So I know Tommy mentioned that earlier. We talked about it. You talked about it in the Discord call. What historically, right? After we look at the Russell, do the miners lead Bitcoin, or does Bitcoin, usually lead miners? How does that work out historically? I would like to look at that later if we could.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's start with the Russell here. By the way, this is where the Russell's going to top. I'm calling it right now.
Is that like
IWM is topping right here. 1.618 and 2.618 right in here. But let's put up Bitcoin down below, because this is why we care about the Russell so much. Because Bitcoin has never gone into price discovery without the Russell showing strength. Here's these colors again. Look at this. Why are these the colors, guys? It drives me nuts. I'm like, why would they put those? I know it's like the third time I've gone on this rant, but I'm like, no one has ever once been like, oh, these are the colors that I want. And they just did it. They just did it. It's terrible. All right, we're going to mark out previous all-time highs for Bitcoin. Right here. Can you guys see these lines, or are they too small?
Barely.
You can barely see them? Fine. I'll make them thicker for your sensitive eyes, Louis. For your sensitive eyes. For Louis's fried eyeballs with his blue light glasses. Here you go. There you go. Previous Bitcoin all-time highs. Russell all-time highs. Here, I'll get rid of my fibs. We don't need these right now. But I will save these. We'll do high time frame fibs. All right. This is the alpha, boys. I'm ignoring the Nancy Pelosi deviation from when Nancy sold. All right. Now we're going to move this up top. A little more room to work with. Okay. Here's Bitcoin down below. Here's the Russell up top. Okay. Now we're going to mark out when the Russell has gone into price discovery. Right there. Right there. And I think the Russell's going into price discovery in Q4. Okay. Bitcoin always trails the Russell into price discovery. Always. And you get this little period of time, like right in here. Just do a little polyline right there. And we'll make it orange for Bitcoin. Right here. Bitcoin always just trails the Russell into price discovery, right? So I'm thinking that the Russell breaks 235. We're at 222 right now for IWM. And that's your trigger, right? That's your trigger. Shit codes get bid at the same time under the same conditions that crypto gets bid, historically speaking. So to me, it feels a lot like this over here. It's like a prolonged version of this right here. And I guess you could argue kind of similar, like grind up like this until it finally pops. But this is why we care, right? This is exactly why we care. This is what Louis is talking about.
Yeah. And it gapped up too in 2021. It just gapped up into price discovery. So they're going to happen quick.
Yeah. And I could add another bit of confluence onto here. I could add the NASDAQ onto here just to show you where the NASDAQ typically goes into price discovery. Oh man, here's the candle colors from hell again. They just don't quit. I got to get rid of that setting. I'm done looking at it. So we'll put it in log so we can see it. All right, so there's the NASDAQ. Hang on, because I want to show how much earlier the NASDAQ typically goes into price discovery. All right, let's merge this up top. We can get rid of these polylines. You guys can see it just fine. All right, Bitcoin, Russell, NASDAQ. So the Russell goes into price discovery right here. We'll put it in blue. And here's what I'll do. I will get rid of these candle colors and we'll put the Russell in like this weird purple color. I'll do this. Do this. I make the colors so it's easier to follow, right? And the NASDAQ goes into price discovery here. NASDAQ went into price discovery here. So you can see that, and then I'm going to mark out Bitcoin here as well, actually. I'll put this in orange for Bitcoin. All right, ready? Here is the order of operations right here. This is how money flows. NASDAQ goes into price discovery here. And then the Russell goes here. And then Bitcoin goes here. And then the NASDAQ goes into price discovery here. And then the Russell. And then Bitcoin. Same time this time. NASDAQ price discovery. Russell. Then Bitcoin. Same thing every time. Same thing every time. NASDAQ. Russell. Russell. And then corn. Right here. Here's the playbook, guys. Right here. So we might need to wait for the Russell. But this is what has typically happened. NASDAQ first, then small caps, then crypto. But we're getting close. Shib, super chat. Thank you, sir. Is Bitcoin price discovery before or after election, do you think? Probably after, bro. Probably after. I'm happy to be wrong on that, but I feel like at this point, we're so close. They're probably going to wait and just pin it into the election, if I had to guess. What's with all the silence, guys? What do I? What do I?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
Yeah, I want to have a conversation. You just been sitting there.
Tommy's very quiet today.
What? No, I'm observing.
I'm just staring at it.
I'm falling silent till you guys decide to speak. I'm done. You guys are sitting there not saying shit. Do I need to get Chimp on the show?
He said tomorrow, I think.
Tomorrow we can get Chimp on the show, but no, I think for me, like the thing that I believe actually supports Bitcoin breaking out the most. And I think the Russell breaking out is great confluence for altcoins, but I think the NASDAQ breaking higher in a big way would be larger to me, because I think what's likely to lead the next leg higher in equity markets is the Mag 7. I'm very bullish on Mag 7 stocks right now, especially obviously NVIDIA and Tesla. I mean, Tesla probably more so than any other asset in the among the Mag 7. I know Microsoft talked about how they might buy Bitcoin. I don't want to assign too much importance to that until it actually happens. But I think you've got some interesting catalysts, along with obviously something like Apple, where the chart is flirting with price discovery. Kind of the same assets that have led the S&P and the NASDAQ higher. If they are going to make another leg up in the next few months, I think that's very supportive of something like Bitcoin, and obviously Bitcoin dominance going higher before you get that move on things like the Russell, on altcoins, and obviously higher risk markets.
Yeah. Yeah. What are we? I think we're selling off this Monday pump. Let's see here.
I think you have a week here where the flows aren't quite as supportive in equities. And then after that, obviously, so the way that equities work structurally, right? You have the first half of every month with very supportive flows. That comes from a lot of different factors, right? Like options market makers. It comes from passive allocation from things like pension funds and the like. But the first half of every month in equities is typically very positive, right? Market moves higher. You can back test it if you want. It's really more so the back half of every month, after we have kind of our expiration in the middle of every month, that you see. It doesn't even have to be weakness, right? It just doesn't quite have the same level of supportive flows that you often see, that you always see in the first half of the month. But yeah, I think when the page turns to November, more specifically next week, then you've also got the election that I think will be mechanically bearish for volatility in equity markets. It's difficult to paint too bearish of a picture, specifically on stocks, right? Like, I mean, equities look absolutely incredible. Bitcoin, kind of along with that thinking, right, with the NASDAQ and with the Mag 7, looks very supportive of this idea, right? Pushing up against the ceiling, just kind of waiting for a breakout. And I think once you see these breakouts occur, then you'll start to see probably that rotation into altcoins like Max is highlighting. And I do think that seems more likely than not at this point, right? Like, look at the S&P, look at something like Tesla, look at NVIDIA and Apple. These charts all look very bullish headed into the end of the year. But I mean, I think that, right, we have this week. People like to call it the quote unquote window of weakness. But then after that, you get supportive flows coming back next week into the election. So next week should provide a lot of volatility for markets. I would have to imagine that there's a lot higher probability that volatility is going to manifest to the upside. I still think you can see a scenario where volatility in equities continues to rise over a high time frame while equities go higher. So I think the play is that upside calls are probably a little bit too cheap, actually, for some of these stocks. But I know we're talking about Bitcoin in regards to this chart. I think the Bitcoin options market is a little bit more complex. Hopefully we kind of trade more. Hopefully Bitcoin trades a little bit more like a Mag 7 stock when we get options through TradFi brokerages. Because right now the options for options in crypto they're really not that great, right? Like, you can access Deribit if you're an international trader, not if you're an American. On-chain options are illiquid. You can't even trade them. You're basically kind of tethered to these Bitcoin products that have theta decay, inherently built into them. What is that called? Contango, right? Or you can trade coin options. So I'm excited for when things like Bitcoin and ETH, probably more specifically Bitcoin, have options available on something like Robinhood that you can kind of just directly trade. I'm curious how they're going to be offering those products. Like, who's going to be offering them? Is it going to be BlackRock, Fidelity? If it's going to be someone like Robinhood, do they have the Bitcoin to be able to offer those products? I don't know. So like, what does that look like for Bitcoin options through TradFi brokerages? But I think that will be, I know people are concerned about volatility suppression if Bitcoin were to get TradFi options or more traditional venues to access options. I think the opposite. I think you would more than likely, maybe you have a bit of a volatility suppression initially. And then I think after that, those are the people who are going to be the marginal buyers, are the people who are shorting volatility on Bitcoin, because we've become so accustomed to crypto volatility being in this new perpetual grind lower. So yeah, that's what I would have to say about that. I'm looking, long story short, I'm looking forward to Bitcoin getting options, trading a bit more like equities. And if that is going to be the case, it's going to have a lot cleaner of a rhythm, and probably the correlation with equities will increase as well.
Yeah, when are we supposed to get options, Tommy? Did you say the date?
I don't know when. I just know they said they're going to offer them soon, but it's kind of like a TBD. I would have to imagine, though, at some point in the cycle we get them. And I view them as a cyclically bullish catalyst. You know, it might not be immediately bullish, but I do think throughout the cycle it will prove to be a bullish catalyst. Because I think people will treat it like a commodity, and we all kind of expect Bitcoin to inevitably fall into the commodity category. But I personally think Bitcoin still trades probably a bit more strongly with NASDAQ correlations. So if people short volatility on it, thinking it's a commodity, that does create the recipe for a gamma squeeze on volatility specifically. And that would be a great way for Bitcoin to mark up, quite frankly.
Yeah, it would be for sure. I don't know. I mean, I know Jackus has talked about this comparison here, but I just can't help but think that we're probably just lagging. Like, so here's Bitcoin up top, and then here's silver, just kind of doing this quickly. And then here's gold. We need, ultimately what we need is for Bitcoin to trade as a commodity rather than beta to the Russell or the NASDAQ ultimately. And I think we've been struggling to do that. But it's hard not to see this and think that Bitcoin is just kind of lagging what happened with actual commodities, like verified, time-tested commodities. So I'm hoping that this is a little bit of an insight or a foreshadowing into what is coming next, right? Man, Shine is calling for 37K Bitcoin. Wow.
Get the
He'd
hell
like
out of here.
that guy.
Throw him in the garbage. Put him in a bathroom.
Dude, for real. Someone had a question about Bitcoin miners. I feel like we could talk about that.
Yeah.
I think we should talk about Bitcoin miners and then maybe a little bit of Dogecoin too, because I saw Elon tweeted about it yesterday.
Did he now?
Yeah. He tweets so much that I feel like the effect of a Doge tweet maybe gets lost a little bit. But no, I did see that he tweeted about Doge for like the first time in a year, I want to say. I think it was last night.
I mean, dude, look at MSTR, man. Oh my gosh.
Yapping up higher.
I don't even need to do TA on this, dude. It's just look at the monthly meat stick on MSTR.
We're gonna fill that wick.
Yeah, I have an alert set on
Is
the
that
wick.
like the .com bubble wick?
Yeah,
that's
is
crazy. That is shenanigans.
Dude, Michael Saylor, the Giga Chad, bro. He saved his stock.
Yeah, what a freaking Chad.
Oh what a Chad. I mean, let's look at like let's look at Mara divided by MSTR. See if there's any signal. Oof, looks cooked. I mean, here's Mara against MSTR. Looks kind of fried, honestly. I don't know. I just wouldn't fade MSTR for anything at this point. So I don't know. I mean, there will be a period of outperformance, right? So let's look at Bitcoin down below. I think once Bitcoin like really gets into price discovery, then yeah. So up top we have a Bitcoin miner that does historically pretty well against MSTR, and you can see that later in the cycle, you know, when Bitcoin is really in price discovery, you can see, you know, we typically do pretty damn well against it, but I probably wouldn't be so rushed to sell MSTR into a miner, even if you get outperformance. It's just kind of risky in my view.
Now, what does it look like if it's just the minor chart itself?
Like Mara, just straight up.
So historically, it looks like the miners lead a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these Bitcoin miners, like they look pretty good. You know, looking at something like Mara, this looks like a pretty clean accumulation right here.
Mhm.
You know, like this is pretty clean in my opinion. And it looks like it's going to really try to hold this demand region right here. So we'll see. I mean, if Bitcoin goes into price discovery, like you really shouldn't visit much lower levels. You know, and you'll probably end up seeing a breakout. Like this will probably play right here if Bitcoin can actually break out here.
CleanSpark looks a lot like Coinbase, the stocks. Very similar.
Coinbase kind of came back from the dead. I haven't looked at it today, but it really
Good.
Here, look, this is
Breaking out.
like I drew this. I was like, don't go below that. Like, really didn't want to see that, and it
Deviation.
just deviated and reclaimed that range perfectly. So, you know, and then looking, you know, down here is like this is a pretty clean little range deviation right here. You know, like that was pretty solid. You know, this little trap was. I remember when we were down there, and I was like, what is going on with coin? You know, that little deviation, spring back up into the previous range. Looks really good, right? And Tommy was talking about CLSK looking similar. It does. Looks really similar. I mean, hard to deny it. Looks really good. I just don't know if you're going to get. So, I mean, here's the thing. Bitcoin miners typically perform well when Bitcoin is really deep into price discovery, because why would they do anything before, right? Like during times of uncertainty, a commodity will always return to its cost of production. And the average cost to produce Bitcoin right now is maybe like slightly below, depending on which miner you're looking at, where price currently is. Bitcoin mining is not that profitable of a business right now. But if Bitcoin doubles, then things change very quickly. And you see that repricing begin to very quickly take effect. So you're just not going to see Bitcoin miners go nuts this early in the cycle. Bitcoin above 90 or 100K, things change pretty quickly. But I mean, the time to position in them arguably is now, but you just have to be okay waiting a little bit. So,
You know what looks great is HUT.
yeah, HUT is cooking today, man. HUT is
The high time frame looks maybe my favorite. Like zoom out and just look at that setup that's brewing.
Ooh.
Yeah. HUT looks really good, right? And you've retested this demand perfectly. Like, look at that, bro. That is just
So that's
textbook.
this is Pizza Hut, right?
Yeah, Pizza Hut, sure.
You can invest in vintage Pizza Hut. Then I would click to invest.
I mean, you clear this level, you're gonna fly.
Yeah, I like that.
I was gonna make a joke. I have a saying about like chain pizza. It's that growing up is realizing that like the $30-$35 pizza that you can get that seems way more expensive is just, I mean, you should just be getting that because it's objectively a better pizza than anything you can buy from a chain. But as males, we all have a primal urge to sometimes go back to our roots and go to that like one chain pizza that we that we used to have as a kid. And for me, it was always Pizza Hut. But I know that's off topic. I just it was in my mind. I had to say it.
I was a big Domino's guy back in the day. Domino's delivery.
Yeah,
I haven't had Domino's in a long time.
either. I might have to get that tonight.
You get
Tonight.
it. You're happy for like a slice or two, and then you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, it just hits differently these days. It just hits the stomach a lot more aggressively.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's for sure.
All right, guys. Well, that is basically the show. So, Tommy, you want to take us out?
Absolutely, I can take us out. Let's talk about the BB terminal first, guys. Obviously, that is something that has been out on the market for a few weeks now. We are so excited that we could finally bring that to you. I mean, something that was in development. I remember talking with Max and Tucker about that probably back last spring, maybe last summer, but it's been a very long time coming. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears has gone into making this product the best possible product that it can be, and will continue to do so, right? I mean, we were talking last Friday about how much I think some of you degens are going to enjoy the degen section of the BB terminal. Obviously, that's something that we haven't quite built out yet, but right now we do have the active trader tab. I use that pretty much every single day. As you guys know, I love derivatives. Therefore, I use the BB terminal every day. I look at things like heat maps. I look at, obviously, derivatives data, where people are positioned, and of course, spaghetti charts, right? Spaghetti charts are an invaluable way to, really be picking up on what's leading or lagging the market. And I do think that you can take a lot of signal out of that. But yeah, make sure to check out the BB terminal, guys. We do have it packaged, not just in a way where you can check out the BB terminal, but also so you can get I mean, realistically, the terminal is discounted right now because we will be adding full functionality to it over the coming months. So this is a great opportunity, in my opinion, to take advantage of that and not just nab the BB terminal, but also grab a spot in our Discord. Obviously, we talk a lot about how much effort we put into that as well. But like, it's no joke, guys. We give calls 4 hours every single day, and that's on the low end. I mean, it's usually more like 5 or 6 sometimes. But yeah, I mean, we commit a lot of time and effort to the Discord. So if you're looking for a more intimate perspective on our positioning, how we're viewing the market every single day, guys, make sure to hop in the Discord. We don't just have a great team, we have an exceptional community that is largely attributed to you guys as well. So shout out if you are watching Market Check and you're in the Discord, shout out to you guys. You guys help make the community so great, but check that out as well. Of course, guys, we also have an SEC registered hedge fund, BB Wealth Management. We are so excited that we can bring that to you as well. And a reminder that we run it in a way that looks to capture the asymmetric history for upside returns in digital assets while also managing the downside risks posed in any market. Maybe you're interested not in our market opinions, but potentially having the team manage your wealth for you. That is the purpose of the BB Wealth Management, guys. So if you're interested in becoming an LP or an accredited investor, make sure to check out the description below. We do have more information linked as well. Make sure to check out the BB Academy as well, guys. I mean, we continue to get such great feedback from you all pretty much every single week. And, we do have some free offerings in the BB Academy as well to kind of give you a taste of what to get. But really, the full paid product is... I mean, I can't understate enough how valuable I think it is to be able to learn from so many different traders with so many unique perspectives on the market, how they approach things, how they analyze, and ultimately how they trade. So whether or not you're looking to build your educational base, or whether you're trying to take your trading to mastery level, there is a place in the BB Academy for you. So check that out. All of these things that I mentioned, these wonderful products, are linked in the description of this YouTube video. But that concludes Market Check for today's show. Make sure to tune in every week, every day, Monday through Friday. Whenever the New York Stock Exchange is open, Market Check will go live around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, we also have Market Talk hosted by the legendary King Lobby, who has absolutely crushed the trenches lately. So if you are a DGen, if you are on chain, if you're somebody who is going to love that BB Terminal DGen tab, make sure to check out Wabi's Spaces, where he has been cooking for the last few weeks. And the timing may vary on that one slightly, but just make sure to follow our Because Bitcoin Twitter account so you can be notified not just when we go live, but also when we schedule those spaces. That is it from us, guys. We hope you have had a great Monday morning so far. Hope you have a great rest of your day, of course, rest of your week, and we will be back tomorrow once again. Thank you.